You're looking at the recently refreshed 2021 Nissan Kicks. They've added a whole host of new features for not a lot of money. And you might not know this, but this is a global car. It is extremely popular in certain markets. It's huge like me in Latin America and Mexico. It's also very popular in China and, of course, India. So the big thing is it's a smaller proportion vehicle and it's very affordable to own. It's one of the cheapest cars on the planet, but that doesn't mean they've cost cut the hell out of it. They've added some exterior colors to make it a little bit fresher, like the blues, and of course we get the most boring color, but they do this two-tone thing on the exterior. The whole thing is they don't want it to feel like just a rental car, budget car thing, even though it carries a lower price tag. So the interior space. This is the SR trim level, which is $22,000. This is absolutely maxed out. And what you get here is heated steering wheel, flat bottom steering wheel with contrasting orange stitching across everything. You have heated seats, and you carry over some of the softer seats in this segment when you compare it to the Chevy Trax, which feels like you're sitting on a toilet seat, or the Ford Ecosport, which was just basically something they pulled out of a dumpster. This doesn't feel that way. And the door panels, all the little details are good here. There's contrasting material. There's a little bit of silver. They put the gray leather in here. It doesn't feel totally chalkboard or boring. Now, that doesn't mean, this is a completely upscale product. The headliner feels, very cardboard. The plastics are very hard. But again, you're not going to debate that in this price point. You want something that you can get on a good loan, and almost all the offers in America are 0% interest for 60 months or more. You can get a decent lease rate on this. But the main thing that you're going to want to know is what they're stacking in here or packing in here. For 2021, Android Auto and Apple CarPlay are now standard across every trim level. So whether you spend $19,000 or $22,000, you get it. The middle and upper trim level get the 8-inch infotainment, which is very basic, but it's functional. The top trim level, the SR, gets the upgraded Bose personal audio system, which places near-field monitors into the headrest to kind of break up some of the flatness or deadness in the typical Bose audio systems, and you can change the sound field in the infotainment to near or wide to make the sound stage or to separate the stereo effect a little bit more. We'll put the test results up. Most of the technology that they pack in here is great. You have active cruise control. You have the 360 safety suite, which is it will autonomously brake if it sees a pedestrian ahead. There's all the safety systems work really well in here, and it's available pretty much on the mid-trim level, which is kind of the sweet spot in price for around 20 grand. And with all the offers that the dealer will give you, you're going to get this for under 20,000. And I think once you sit in here and really look at it, it's definitely better. It's doing things better than all of their competitors in terms of packing in more for your money. But let's head in the shop and we'll talk about some of the details on the mechanical side of this. Underneath the Nissan Kicks, in America at least, this is the follow-up to the Juke. In the rest of the world, this is hot. And it's hot because it's affordable. It's big in Brazil. They make it in India. They make it in China, they make it in Thailand, and we have ours, which is made in Mexico. Now, what you want to know is this is as basic as it gets for a modern vehicle that still factors in crash safety and crash protection, but everything is essentially uncovered here. You can get to everything underneath. All of it is exposed. There's no underbody panels. There's no underbody coverings on the center portion of the car, so they're completely reliant on their undercoating technology and to make sure that this is corrosion resistant, which we all know that it probably won't be in the long term. The front is strut. It's all steel. The back is a torsion beam, and this is exactly what you see on every kind of C segment, B segment car. Now, you want to know one thing. You only get one engine option here, at least in North America. You get the 1.6 liter four-popper, and you get a CVT. And that is the only transmission choice. Now, obviously, other parts of the world get manual transmission. India gets the updated architecture, which is shared with Renault, and a few other things depending on what the people want in different regions. Front-wheel drive only, no all-wheel drive capability. So we're going to have to see how all of that plays out when we take it out on the road for a quick drive. All right, the 2021 Nissan Kicks. Affordable transportation for the masses. Let's see how this accelerates transmission, ride control, braking, all the fun stuff. So, power is exactly what you would expect out of the naturally aspirated 1.6 liter. It doesn't make a ton of power, but it doesn't really need to. That's not what this is about. This is that A to B machine that's supposed to be comfortable, fuel efficient, and if you have to push it down in a pinch, it will go. It's just, obviously, it doesn't sound good. It's not all that exciting, not that isolated, but the steering wheel feels great. You know, when you get to the upper trim levels with the D shape, the steering wheel is not too small. It's got the right amount of thickness. It's got a ton of grip in it, so your hands aren't sliding around. There's a little bit of style, and you feel a great level of control, even though that you have a bit more command of the road. This is a higher vehicle than like a regular car or a regular compact car. So it has the compact car like dimensions on the inside when you're driving it. That's what it feels like, with just better visibility. The seats are a bit higher up. There's a ton of glass in here, so you have good visibility without having to overutilize the safety suite, which is really good. It's not hyperactive, so if you're coming up on a car too fast, it's not going to alert you. The brakes aren't going to freak out. The lane departure and all the things that are on here works really well, surprisingly well for the cost that you're paying, or the price that you're paying. Now, it is front-wheel drive only, and with 120 horsepower, you don't need all-wheel drive. It's completely unnecessary. There's never a time where this thing is struggling for traction unless you're driving like a total idiot. Now, on the top trim level, you get chassis control on the SR, which adds a bit of the... It basically takes the CVT and allows it to downshift and simulate engine braking like a manual transmission would. So it's a little bit more active in terms of using the engine to slow you down instead of the brakes, and it has a torque vectoring effect with brakes as well, so it helps it to feel a little bit more natural to drive. So all the driving characteristics are pretty good here. Brakes are not hyperactive, so if I start pounding this around and I want to hit the brakes, it's really natural. It's not an on and off pedal. You have to give it a little bit of pressure, but once you get in that sweet spot, it's really easy to figure out. It stops quickly. It never feels like you have to get so deep into the pedal. You're never worried about this thing stopping. And kind of the biggest thing that you're going to want to know is, yes, they have these seats. They feel really padded to me. I love the way that the seats feel for a smaller body type. You want to know about suspension. How does it handle? You know, you're on a budget platform here with strut front and a torsion beam rear. It rides great. It's really soft. It's on the softer side. It's exactly what you want for a vehicle like this. They don't try to stuff in any sportiness. There's nothing that's real edgy or overreactive. They found a really good balance to give you confidence to steer this, to drive it where you feel in control of it. And then in terms of ride quality, it's good over every pavement type. Even the rear end doesn't feel like it's bouncing around a lot. And that's one of the best parts about this. If you're looking for that softer, more compliant ride, the Kicks is great. Now, the last thing, there's got to be some negative parts about this. And I will say that, you know, obviously this is starting at around $18,000 and you're going to get it for less. But the transmission behavior gets really weird with the CVT. And, you know, like if I had to rate CVTs and if I had to rate them in order in terms of all the manufacturers, Nissan's programming or the performance of the CVTs are some of the slowest and least reactive. If you're not driving, you know, if you're just driving on a straight road, you're never going to notice this. But it's when you're getting into like turns and you have to get out. I have no idea what it's doing. And that's a perfect example. The traction stability control comes in when you lose a little bit of traction. Then the CVT comes in to kind of lower the RPM, and then it kind of gets like stuck in this mid zone of like, you don't know if it's cutting power or if the CVT is limiting the ability for the car to get going, or it's just really odd under loss of traction. And it's probably the only serious thing that I found driving this that just doesn't feel right. And that's only going to affect you if you're in a rural area and need to get out quickly. But other than that, I feel like this is a great car, a great driving car for the price when you put it in perspective of all the things that you get for your money. And I would, if I needed a new car and knew I could get low financing rates on this, this would be one of my top picks. You just have to be mindful of, like, you know, keep this under warranty or lease it. Let's head into the shop for the final thoughts. Final thoughts on the Nissan Kicks. And yes, I've had to laugh at that name a few times, but at least it's memorable, unlike the alphanumerics. Here's the thing. Not everyone has over $20,000 to spend on a new car, or you don't want to go out, you're not car savvy and want to go weed through the used market. This offers a few things. One, great financing offers through Nissan. That's a huge part. The lease deals are pretty good as well. You get a new car warranty, and the best part about this with the updates is the technology works well. The interior is really well sorted. It doesn't feel like that C or B segment car in a lot of ways. The seats are comfortable if you're smaller, and you know, the safety part of it, the safety electronics work quite well for a car that's under 20 grand. That is why you're going to buy this. Now, the areas that they cut costs are clearly under here. They have to sacrifice some of the engineering underneath to save money to put it on the interior, and that's what they're trying to do. And obviously that carries over to some of the other markets that are releasing this for people that don't want enormous vehicles. The next thing to talk about is really the worst part is the CVT, and that's something we talk about with Nissans typically. But I'm not just saying it because Nissan doesn't do a good job. It's because when you compare it to the other brands like Honda and Kia and Hyundai's new CVT, which is completely transparent and amazing and natural to drive, this just is like, they can't figure out what they're doing with programming, and you totally notice it the more that you drive it. So it's something you want to look at on a test drive. I really like this car a lot. Again, if you don't have a ton of money and you want a new car and you're looking at the Ecosports, the Chevy Trax, some of the Kia and Hyundai products, this is far superior than the Ford and the Chevy offerings, at least in terms of the interior design. So put it on your list. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.